local government area to check progress on the Epelema section of ongoing 5.2 kilometer Kalaibiama-Epelema Road, which includes a 450-meter bridge. Still talking the River State government, it says it has begun taking steps to tackle flooding, starting with the approval of shoreline protection in some communities in Obo-Ebimandoni local government area and Opobonkoro local government area. Now, this is according to the secretary to the state government, Benibo Anabrabra. Now, he made this note while representing Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Tuesday at the launch of a book titled Coastal Zone Flooding and Erosion in Developing Communities, Principles, Cases, and Strategies, written by Emeritus Professor Weston Belgam. The SSG says that the government will continue to take necessary measures, including relocating communities on the coastline to reduce the impact of flooding on residents and the environment.
These issues are currently receiving the much-needed attention and intervention with the recent approval of the construction of shoreline protection. His Excellency had earlier approved the formulation of a River State housing policy, which will take into cognizance the provision of infrastructure and housing to most of the coastal and island communities, while also working towards the upgrade of slums and informal settlements.
Anabraba also warned against building on waterways as well as uncontrolled sea mining and dredging activities that destroy mangroves and swamps.
And where necessary, it is important that we also know that as stakeholders, there is need to pursue mitigation strategies. And these strategies include the reduction in emission of greenhouse gases. We also need to do this by promoting clean energy and reduction in the use of fossil fuel. We also need to encourage our people to stop developing buildings on and along water courses and the increased sea mining and dredging activities on our coastline.
He commended the author for contributing to knowledge both in River State and globally. A former military governor of Old River State and Amainabo of 12 Brass, King Alfred Diete Spiff, said the book will help stakeholders better manage climate change challenges. Now let's talk about the legislature. It's been over a month since members of the River State House of Assembly returned from suspension, but many people say things are still moving slowly. While some residents are getting worried about the pace of work, a political scientist, Obi Nawadi, believes that full legislative activities in River State will pick up when the state government fully constitutes its executive council. Dr. Nwadi, a lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, made this known in a chat with correspondent Onyeka Chinwusu.
I think they came back eager to work. That was why immediately after the suspension, they sat without a full complement of an executive council in which they would work with, and without full and functional heads, particularly political heads in those ministries, it will be difficult for them to perform their function right.
Also, Dr. Wadi says 1 month is not enough. It's not enough time to assess the legislative arm.
I think that it will be too hasty to begin to assess the activities of the assembly, considering the fact that it's just about a month plus that they resumed office. So because government is just picking up, you don't expect much from them. Within the executive, there is no full executive council. And so we won't say that the government has picked up so much as to give the legislature what to do. So it will be too hasty for us to begin to assess their performance post-emergency rule era.
Also speaking, a chieftain of the APC, Chiziyon Masili, said the pace of work by the state legislatures since resumption shows that they are trying to be careful.
Even the governor is also taking his time to be able to do that. Of course, you know that when you seemingly come out of a war period, you need to be careful on the selection process. And so I think the assembly is taking it one after the other. They've been meeting, they're trying to reorganize themselves in the face of the new phase they are facing now. I think for me, my assessment is that they are doing well.
Yomasali, however, advised them to speed up work considering the time lost during the emergency rule. Time to talk politics. The All Progressive Congress is insisting that the recognized chairman of the party in River State remains Tony Okocha. This clarification is from the party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, speaking in an interview with Nigeria Info FM. Moka dismissed reports that the court had confirmed Emeka Bekee as chairman. He insists that the court has no power to interfere in the internal affairs of political parties.
Ifechukwu Okocha is the chairman of our party in Rivers State. That's not under any controversy. Courts do not decide for parties who their national officers are. The party, through its processes, backed by its constitution, have made decisions and declared Ifechukwu Okocha as the chairman of the party in the state. And so any journalist or anybody who is still confused about that question, I think is just looking to promote controversy. Otherwise, we are clear. And if tomorrow whatever the party does in Rivers State is done through the office of Ifechukwu Okocha.
The APC national spokesperson also defended the action of the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike in the APC-led federal government.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory is a Minister of the Federal Republic who today is doing an amazing job in the FCT. The man is doing his job and he should be allowed to do his job. He's also a politician who must politic and engage as he deems necessary, whether in his state or at the national level. That is a minister in an APC government does not mean that he cannot, also engage in his politics. So he has every freedom and right to engage, as he chooses within the framework of the law.
Let's remind you that Emeka Bekee had insisted that he is the authentic chairman of the APC in Rivers State based on a court ruling. Also, the spokesperson of the Emeka Bekee-led APC in the state, Darlington Wuju, told our correspondent that the tenure of the Emeka Bekee-led executive was extended by December 2025 by the National Working Committee of the party.
The tenureship of persons elected all over Nigeria on 16th October 2021 was extended by the neck of the party to December of 2025. Bearing any other political undercurrents, the neck of the party, which is the highest, the most powerful organ of our party outside of our convention or congresses, has extended tenure of elected state executives to December of 2025.
Still on politics, but this time the People's Democratic Party. The Zonal Secretary of the People's Democratic Party in Imo State, Arthur Ugochukwu, says the action of FCT Minister Nyesom Wike when he was governor did not weaken the party, but instead strengthened it. Speaking on Nigerian 4FM's Morning Crossfire, Ugochukwu says the PDP is currently losing some governors even as its leaders insist they are taking the right steps to save the PDP. Now, he adds that if Wike truly attempted to take control of the party structure, he did so in a way that made the PDP stronger.
We want more governors from 11 states like 12 or 13 states. Now we have dropped down 6 or 7 governors, assuming that that's what he did at that time. Now, if you're a governor, you want to hijack that, or you are sure you want the party to survive, why don't you do it in the right way? So like you said, if we did something like that, he probably did them in the right direction, and the party was working strong and was doing well, and we did not lose any governors. So how come we are losing governors because some people said the party should do the right thing instead of doing the wrong thing? Why don't you do it the same way Wike did it then?
On calls for sanctions against Wike for alleged anti-party activities, Ugochukwu says he cannot speak for the national leadership. However, he expressed hope that the party still has time to resolve its issues ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Well, I'm not at the national level. I'm a zonal secretary in the state. What I'm trying to say is that Wike has not resigned his membership of the party. Up to this minute as we speak, he's a member of PDP. So it's not that APC is using him. What is happening in PDP is internal party play. And if it is not played well by the major players in the party, it will self-destruct the party. But we have time to make amends, to make corrections. If you see a member of the party who is agreed, ask the person what is the problem.
Away from that, the former first vice president of NBA, John Aibobo Martin, says no amount of reform will change the electoral system until the political class genuinely reform themselves. Aibobo Martin made this known in an interview with correspondent Yobi Oruwari while speaking on the ongoing electoral reform process embarked upon by the National Assembly.
no matter the reforms, electoral act has been amended several times, no matter the amendment, until the Nigerian people, particularly the Nigerian government officials and politicians, decide to change their ways, the election in Nigeria will always be flawed, because it is not more about the law. So it is about the people. It is not necessarily about the law. It's about the people. And until we decide to circumcise our heart to do the needful or to do the right thing at every given time, the reforms will never come to play.
The lawyer also blamed the judiciary for playing a role in the non-implementation of some electoral reforms carried out earlier.
The judiciary has not done very well at all. The judiciary know very well why these amendments are being done, is to check rigging. But when these cases come before them eventually, then they give rulings that defeat the purpose of the amendment. The fight should go back to the judiciary practically. The judiciary should be interpreting the laws to meet with the mischief being done by Nigerians or by the politicians or by those who are rigging the election. So you cannot go to court, then the judiciary decides to interpret the law in a way that defeats the so-called reforms.
On the spot, the spokesperson of African Democratic Congress ADC in Rivers State, Luckyman Egila, said Nigerians would take seriously the reforms of the National Assembly when the BVAS and IRIV start to function.
Just as Nigerians has been clamoring about that our electoral processes need a lot of reforms. If these reforms are carried out, that when we go to vote, there will be beavers, and these beavers will not just be there, these beavers will work, and that results will be uploaded to the IRF right from the polling units. And the IRF portal is secure and it's not tampered with, then Nigerians can begin to have some level of confidence on INEC. But until that day, it's difficult.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Ifechukwu, has approved the deployment of 42,000 officers for the Anambra governorship election billed for Saturday, November 8, 2025. Ifechukwu said this on Tuesday at the meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security held at INEC headquarters, Abuja. The IGP, who was represented by the Commissioner of Police for Special Intervention Squad, Abayomi Shogunle, said pre-election deployment would begin on November 1st. Away from politics now, a constitutional lawyer, Professor Richard Muonyili, has clarified the legal conditions required to secure conviction in criminal cases. Professor Muonyili made the clarification in an interview with correspondent Emekotoka while reacting to the State High Court judgment that discharged and acquitted 12 suspects accused of killing Inspector Christiana Erekere in Taba, Kana local government area. The lecturer at the Department of Public Law, Rivers State University, says the court does not determine cases such as murder based on emotions or sympathy, but strictly on the facts presented before it.
Every crime has a definition. The crime of murder, which was the crime in the instant case, requires two things: that to prove that the accused person did carry out an act and the death resulted from that act. Secondly, you prove that he carried out that act with intent to kill that person or cause the person serious harm. So, if you charge 12 people to court or more, you must show what each of them did that caused the death of the victim. In criminal matters, you are required to prove the guilt of the accused person beyond reasonable doubt.
Professor Muonyili further explained that in some cases, a person charged with murder may instead be convicted for manslaughter if the killing was not premeditated. Premeditated, I beg your pardon.
There are cases in which can charge a person for murder and they end up convicting them for manslaughter. And that is where it was shown that yes, the act they carried out led to the death, but they had no intent or intention to kill the person. Cases of accident and cases of unintended action that led to death of somebody. At best, where the action is established to have been carried out by the first person is convicted for manslaughter, because the second element of intention to kill or cause bodily harm would not be there. So it would be wrong to convict him for murder.
And now the Eche Local Government Committee on Land Grabbing has started receiving petitions from several communities, officially kicking off its work to tackle illegal land acquisition in the area. Affected communities including Umunkwe in Olako 1, Umuchoko and Chukota in Igbeche, Elele, Umuotube, Umwebere in Chokocho, Ozozo, and Opiro have already filed complaints since the committee began sitting on October 10 at the council headquarters. The committee, led by Imawobilo, was inaugurated on October 1st by the chairman of Eche Local Government Area, Chima Boniface Njoko, as part of effort to curb rising cases of land grabbing. During the inauguration, Wobilo advised anyone involved in land transactions to suspend activities and present their document for verification. He also warned machine operators against working with land grabbers, noting that any equipment seized during illegal activities would not be released. The committee says it has already recorded some progress by resolving disputes and reducing forceful land takeovers and court cases. Spokesperson Dr. Uche Kerenduku says the council chairman is committed to ensuring the safety and protection of Eche people.
And the committee has commenced a hearing on their matters. The chairman of the council, Chima Boniface Njoko, has assured the Che people and her environs of safety and security. And the chairman of the committee, High Chief Imamobilo, and her members has also assured the chairman of their sincere commitment to discharging their duty with the fear of God. Indeed, the Che local government is saved under the leadership of Chima.
We go on a quick break. When we return, we will tell you about the reactions of some financial experts to the removal of Nigeria from the Financial Action Task Force. Stay with us. it will now screen the newly appointed service chiefs today, Wednesday, October 29, reversing its earlier decision to conduct the exercise next week. The announcement came shortly after Senate President Godswill Akpabio read a separate correspondence from President Bola Tinubu seeking the confirmation of appointment of Chief of Defense Staff General Olufemi Oluyede. Akpabio said that change was necessary to enable the military chiefs to assume their duties immediately. And now, a professor of finance and investment, Professor Omiente Victoria, has described Nigeria's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list as a sign of rare economic progress. Professor Victoria gave this indication on Nigeria Info FM's Hard Fact. Now, she explains that to maintain the delisting status, Nigeria must continue to comply with FATF's standards and strengthen the work of the existing financial task force to ensure full compliance with international anti-money laundering regulations.
Delisting us from the grey list shows that we will have more direct investment now, both foreign investment, direct foreign investment, and international funding as well as other collaborations to boost our economy. Investors as well will not trust the economy and have confidence that when they invest, they will get their returns on investments. These foreigners will no longer afraid of doing business with us because our financial reputation is restored. In fact, removing us from that list is a signal that the Nigerian economy is experiencing real progress.
Recall that in February 2023, Nigeria was placed on the grey list after the FATF identified strategic deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism systems. However, over 2 years later, the FATF removed Nigeria from the list following the country's successful implementation of a 19-point action plan aimed at strengthening its framework. Still on this, a financial analyst, Debbie Muonyili, says the trust deficit plaguing the country's economic system may have been addressed following the removal of Nigeria from the Financial Action Task Force watch list. Now, Dr. Muonyili made this known in an interview with correspondent Sebi Oruware. The lecturer at the Ignatius Ajuri University of Education says it has restored some confidence in investors willing to do business in the country. The financial analyst, however, urged the relevant government agencies to sustain the effort. And now in business. The Port Harcourt Zonal Chairman of Pengassan, George Nwoko, says the plan by Dangote Refinery to increase its production capacity will not make any difference in the consumption rate of the country. Nwoko told correspondent Sebi Oruware that the move will have a ripple economic impact on the economy, but more to the benefit of the Dangote Refinery. Now, he, however, explained that until the federal government keeps off from managing the nation's refineries, the country will continue to rely on external supply.
Let the companies own higher percentage of the shares. Let government have less percentage. So the decision-making process will be seamless. You cannot run the refineries as a corporation. Today, NNPC is a full-fledged limited liability company. So they should run the refinery the way every other business entity will run the business. They need to adopt the NLNG model. The NLNG model is working because the IOCs have, the NOCs have shares in that business, and it's running seamlessly.
Well, that's a wrap on the news this morning. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. We told you that the Rivers State government has expanded coastal road works to drive blue economy growth. You also heard that the Rivers State government has moved to protect communities in Opobonkoro and Obwebemandoni local government areas from flooding with shoreline projects. And we brought you reactions from constitutional lawyer Professor Mukocha after the acquittal of alleged murderers of police inspector in Kana. The news was edited by Ufoma Ebamano. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili. Many thanks for listening.